Okay, welcome in to D&D's two-man game, episode 8, and welcome back, the glorious man co-host that is Dom from his week off doing band stuff, work stuff. Welcome back, Dom. How are you? How do you feel? Did you listen to the other podcast? Is it over? I got a lot of feedback. The show is terrible without you, so we're really glad you're back today.
I thank you, Damon, for having me back on the show. No, I listened to the podcast last week, and I wanted to thank you personally for taking over and doing it for the week when I was unfortunately way too busy to do it. I try to make time here and there, and it's tough out here, but I'm glad to be here today talking hoops. And thanks again for talking hoops when I was out, talking about each of the teams, talking about questions about each. So if you didn't catch last week's, David talked about just like the biggest, maybe like the most intriguing question for each team, which I enjoy listening to quite a lot. So
Thank you. Thank you. I actually came
yeah,
up with those questions on my own some. I just thought about the teams and I looked at the roster and I said, what's a question that I can talk about on the podcast that's maybe not super obvious, but also relevant enough that is
yeah,
interesting to listen to. Um,
and thank you for like not just being like, so Damian Lillard, right?
how does this
What's
affect
happening?
LeBron's legacy?
Exactly.
My
Just yeah, it's just
my throat thanks you because that was the hardest part is like getting through that. I was like, I need to take a drink of water, but I'm the only person, so like I have to drink really fast. I have to like think about when is a good time to like stop talking, and then people are listening in their car and they're like, "Wait, what happened?
what's happening.
Is
Yeah.
like is my podcast messed up?" And then I'm like, "All right, I'm back. I just took a drink of water. I'm here."
I can't even fathom like what's that. Well, I thankfully like one of the first podcast episodes, I didn't have enough water with me, so I was going. I was my throat was very dry, and I
Yeah,
also had apple juice, no water, so it's just like sticky in my throat. Talking
not
for like an hour, so thankfully I could rely on you to talk a little bit too. So now we each have our things. I got my tea, and you have your water, so
yes. Yeah, my
we're all
water,
good to go.
not my gallon that I had last time. But yeah, we like Dom said, I talked about 30 intriguing questions, one for each team coming into this season, and I did my best to predict the answers to those questions. But now that Dom is back, we're gonna dive back into the rankings. We're gonna do small forwards today, starting small forwards here in the NBA. But before we do that, we do have a bit of news to cover, and we got to do our shirt reveal.
Classic. Can't do a shirt reveal without a shirt on, and that's what I have.
Let's see it.
Oh, yes.
Boom. Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
So for our audio
Oh,
listeners, if you're
yes.
not watching on YouTube, go watch on YouTube, by the way. Um, Dominikas has a Lithuanian basketball shirt on for a team name that I cannot pronounce. It's a skeleton dunking, which I think is super cool. And then I just have a Black Panthers Houston Rockets shirt on that was at one of their games last year. Um, how do you
Both
say
very cool. Very
how do you,
both very cool shirts. What was that?
how do you say the name?
Lietuva. That's how you say Lithuania in Lithuanian. So
Oh,
that's
interesting.
why I wrote it like that. But his says it in English, Lithuania. But
Speaking of Lithuania,
speaking of Lithuania, let's just get right into it. You like that segue? Segues are back, baby. We are talking a little bit about FIBA. So I'm wearing Lithuania because they defeated the USA. And I watched a bit of the game, and if anyone's been watching FIBA, you'll know that the USA team doesn't have a lot of height. Their centers are Jaren Jackson Jr. and Walker Kessler, and that's it.
yeah,
Um,
we've
so
been running a
uh,
lot of
uh
Paolo out there.
yeah, so Lithuania really beat them on the boards, and also they could not miss. Also, I am Lithuanian. That's why I'm wearing this. I'm not just some guy who found this shirt and like wore it. I'm Lithuanian, so I can wear it.
Yeah, I think we've
Um,
referenced that before, but in case you're a new listener,
just in case, yeah, exactly. That's
go
why I
back and
talk
listen to the
about
7 episodes before this.
talk about it probably too much, but very proud of them for what they did. I mean, USA I knew they're gonna go far. Lithuania, always kind of has some bad luck, which I'll talk about now. They lost yesterday to Serbia, and it was a bit sad to see that. But at least they are. So if they made it to the semifinals, which they did, they are qualified for the Olympics. So they will be in the Olympics for
Oh,
sure.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So feel really good about that. They have a good team, and they're actually playing now. They're playing for like 4, 5, and 6. No, sorry, they're playing for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place in the morning tomorrow. Unless you're in the Philippines, then they're playing at a normal time.
This is a Wednesday night, by the way, for our listeners. I know the game will have already happened by the time you hear this.
Exactly. Thank you for that. So yeah, Lithuania lost to Serbia, and USA obliterated Italy. So now USA is going to be playing Germany in the semifinals, and Serbia will be playing Canada. So I think it's a really cool matchup. We might get a USA versus Canada finals.
That'd be
Both
awesome.
teams, yeah, both teams have a lot of NBA players, and
I was going to
yeah,
ask, did uh, Sabonis or Valanciunas or any of those guys play for Lithuania?
yeah. The only NBA player on Lithuania was Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay.
So Sabonis didn't play because I think he was still dealing with a little bit of an injury at the end of the
Caused by
playoff run they had.
Draymond's foot.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it.
What about
Yeah,
I'm assuming Serbia did not have Jokic.
Serbia did not have Jokic, but they did have Bogdan Bogdanovic, and he went
Ah,
off.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, Sabonis also just had a newborn daughter, so I wanted to congratulate him. I know he's listening. So congratulations, brother.
Fan of the show, DeMontis Sabonis.
Huge fan, huge fan. Anyways, so yeah, that's the update on FIBA. Latvia made it far, which was really cool to see, but they lost to Germany. Germany's a better team anyways, so I kind of saw that coming. It was a close game though. But could get a USA Canada final, which I think would be pretty cool. Or I mean Germany Serbia would also be cool. But definitely rooting for USA now
I,
since Lithuania's out.
I feel like my guy Mikal Bridges has been killing it, and your guy Anthony Edwards has been killing it.
They both been killing. Yeah, Mikal Bridges. I don't know if you saw. Did you see some of the clips from the Italy game with Mikal Bridges?
I have not. I've
He
read and listened to stuff, but I haven't watched anything.
he just was just walking. So like they were getting rebounds. Mikal Bridges would like walk down half court, just get to the 3-point line, and shoot immediately. Like not even think, just shoot and make them. He was just sinking them. It's crazy. He had I think 24 first half points, something like that. It was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
I know they're not playing Halliburton a lot either, which I don't understand.
Well, he's off the bench because
That's what I don't understand.
well, that's what's so cool about the USA team is that they have so many awesome players that like they have just people that are starters easily coming off the
Well,
bench.
who's their starting point guard though?
Their starting point guard, I think, is Jalen Brunson.
That's why I don't understand. One of those players has made an All-Star game, and it's not Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just whatever Steve Kerr wants to do fits more with Jalen Brunson. Maybe because he's older a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all getting runs and they're all doing very well. Anthony Edwards, like you said, had he tied like most USA points in a FIBA game against Lithuania, I think with 35 points. So very cool to see that. And they're having fun out there too, which I think I mentioned last time, but it's so cool to see that, players on different teams just having fun together because, they are playing for one country. So very cool to see that.
Speaking of players playing with one thing, let's talk about the LA Lakers.
There we
Who
go.
today, I believe,
Mhm.
signed Christian Wood, somebody that was out there at free agency that we were both kind of like, interesting. They haven't
Yeah.
signed, and he signed with the Lakers. So, as the resident Laker fan, the floor is yours. What do you think about this?
Well, so I will say this. I've always liked Christian Wood. I liked his game. Wish his defense was a bit better, obviously. I liked him a lot on the Rockets. I thought it was really fun watching him. I want to get your opinion on that. I just don't like hearing all the locker room stuff that I'm hearing. I mean, he's went Pistons, Rockets, Mavericks, and he hasn't made it work either of those places. He's definitely a good enough player, and I like what he can do. And Lakers needed like a bit more size, so I don't hate it. I'm a little curious to see how he fits in the rotation though. Because we do have, LeBron, small forward, power forward, Rui Hachimura, who was great last year, and now we're having Christian Wood. I don't know if he's going to be like a stretch five. Um, I'm curious to see how we might try to utilize him. All the one bright side to having him on the team, besides his offensive capability stretching the floor, is that maybe on a team with LeBron, he will maybe just play to win. Not just leave everything at the door and come and play basketball instead of worrying about like I don't know whatever locker room stuff could be. And also he tweeted that he's like always wanted to be a Laker, which I hope that he takes that with the point of pride and really plays his heart out. And I don't hate it because I'm looking at the market. I'm seeing who else is out there, and I don't see how we could get anyone else. So I thought it was kind of inevitable that we would sign him because we've been talking about it for forever. So yeah, I think first year is like 2.7 million, not bad. Second year's a player option.
Good value.
Yeah, for what it is, like I hope he plays. But how do you feel? Because you've watched him quite a bit since he was on the Rockets.
Yeah. When he was in the Rockets, he was kind of our best player, if second best player, third best player, depending on, what era Rockets we're talking about for his couple of years there. But he's good offensively. He can stretch the floor. Like you said, I like him as a player. I will touch on the character issues that you kind of mentioned, the locker room issues, I think have kind of plagued him since he was on the Rockets because since he was like the guy, it was like, oh, I deserve all this stuff. And I feel like that kind of translated over to the Mavericks, where he was coming off the bench, and I think he was upset with his role there. And I think with the Lakers, hopefully with somebody like LeBron, like you mentioned, he can kind of get in line and just play to win rather than like I'm the guy. Um, and I think the best part about him being on the Lakers is that you can cover up some of those defensive flaws by having him on the court with Anthony Davis at the same time. So Anthony Davis is doing, most of the rim protecting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Christian Wood can still space out the floor on the other end. So I think having someone like Anthony Davis to balance that out will make it a little bit easier. Because I don't think Christian Wood is someone you can like run at the five for a long time, like
Yeah,
as like the biggest guy on the court. Your team will struggle a lot defensively. So. I think he can fit in there. I don't think he'll start. I think he'll probably come off the bench. But I think it's like LeBron goes out 6 minutes into the first quarter or something, and then you can bring Christian Wood in, and then it's like
yeah,
Christian Wood, Anthony Davis, and then at the end of the first quarter, then you can take Anthony Davis out and put LeBron back in or something, something like that.
exactly.
Stagger your stars with your role players. I think it can work.
Yeah. So if you would give it like a rating, what would you give it, you think? Considering value and everything too.
Yeah, I mean, I think rating, it's probably like a 9 out of 10. I think it's 3 million. Like he's had some really good seasons where he's averaging
Yeah.
close to 20 points per game. Um, he was clearly on the market because character issues, and with a contract like that so low, worst comes to worst, you don't play him.
Yeah.
Just bench him.
Yeah.
And it's like
Very true.
you're not losing a lot because you're not paying him a lot. It's not a long-term deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like it. I was a little like, okay, about time that this signing has happened. Um, and like I said, looking at the market, this is probably the best thing we could have got for the best deal. And like I said, I always like Christian Wood. So I think he will be good. I'm excited to see what he does. And obviously I hope the best for the Lakers. And since we're on the topic of the Lakers, I think we can talk about our next point of news,
Mhm. Old
which is so
news.
funny. Old news, but I want to tell a little story. I
Okay.
was at work and my good friend co-host Damon texted me, "Hey, I got something for the pod. Try to not look up any news." I said I was on my phone. I was like, okay, I'll try not to. And I go to Instagram, and the first thing I see is a Lakers post, like 2/8/2024. Like it was a message from Vanessa, his Kobe Bryant's wife, and it was that they're gonna unveil the statue. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about. So I immediately said, like, in the next message, I was like, oh, got it spoiled. Sorry. Yeah, anyway, so the Kobe statue. And another funny story I want to say is when I first moved here, so I knew when I moved here at Staples Center that there were statues of at Lakers. I'm saying Staples Center because it's Staples.
The
Um,
crypt.
the crypt where enemies go to bear. No, okay. And when I first moved here, I knew they had Lakers statues, and I could have sworn that there was already a Kobe Bryant statue. I just thought that already, and I remember going there. I'm like, there's no Kobe statue.
That was only
And
like
then
2 years after he retired.
I
He
know, but
moved
I
there.
just was like, I just thought I saw a picture, but I think it was like fan made or something, you know.
Mhm.
So in my head, I was just like, it's already here. So I mean, I am obviously ecstatic. I'm excited to see what they use, what pose they use is going to be number 8, number 24. Be kind of cool to place a bet on that.
What's a bet on 8 or
Uh,
24?
yeah. Well, I think they also said they're going
Here,
to incorporate Gianna in the statue. I can't remember.
my
Um,
bet is they do both. They do 8 on one side of the jersey and 24 on the other side of the jersey.
okay. Well, now you're splitting hairs. No, I'm kidding. But I think I heard that they're going to also use incorporate Gianna, which I think would be really nice as well.
Number
Um,
2, I think,
he was
is the
number
number she
2,
wore.
Mambasita, yeah. But I mean, I of course, like, as Kobe Bryant got me into basketball, I can't wait to see a statue being unveiled the day before my birthday, no less. So I will
Mhm.
definitely try to be there. I don't know how hard it will be, but I would love to be there for that occasion. And
Is it like on the do you know if it's on the day of like before a game or is it just like a random day?
it's funny you say that because I looked at the schedule and there's a game on my birthday. So it's not the date
Oh,
of a
okay.
game for the Lakers. It might be Clippers, but not for the
That
Lakers.
would be a crime if they did
It
it
would be
before a
so funny.
Clippers game. That'd be so weird.
But there is a game the day after on my birthday. So shout out if you want to give me money to anyone listening so I can go to Lakers game on my birthday. It's like $225 each, but you know,
Plug your Venmo.
just DM me
On what?
on Instagram or follow us on D&D's podcast and then say, hey, here's I want to give Dom money. I'll take your money.
Can
Just
you?
do it.
I was trying to think. Can you message people on YouTube? I don't think you can.
You can comment, just be like, yo, I want to give Dom money.
Oh, that's
But
true.
that's if you do that, I'll reply. I'll do that
Or
shit.
I think we're still looking for our very first follower on Instagram and the X is now called, I guess.
Oh
Um,
right, I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, so how do you feel about it? The statue.
it's great. It's in due time,
Yeah.
obviously wish it would have happened before the tragic accident, but
Yeah.
glad it's happening. Uh, no complaints for me. Okay, we if we're not gonna bet the jersey number, what about what the statue looks like? Like, what do you think
Or
the
like the
pose will be?
pose.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it could be either like the iconic like number 8, like when he's number 8, like dunk behind, or
I have two
I
in
th-
mind.
you have to, is it what is that was that one of them or no?
No,
What was the one you're thinking of?
okay. I was thinking of the fist, the classic
Mm-hmm.
fist.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good one. And I was also just thinking of like I feel like when I think of Kobe in terms of his game, I think like mid-range jumper.
Yeah, I was that I definitely think that as well. I just wonder, I know like there have been a lot of like if they're gonna incorporate Gianna, like maybe they would just have them like walking side by side, but if they do want to put him in a pose, then definitely those come to mind for sure. Like the classic, like definitely like
Yeah.
mid-range jumper with his legs kind of kicked out,
Hmm.
which is a habit I still do, which is not a good habit. Because it's a foul
Dangerous.
now. It's an offensive foul now. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I hope I could be there for it. I will try. It's on a Thursday, but I will try to be there, and then I can talk about it on the pod. Be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers up the news and everything that's happened so far. It's been still a little quiet on the on most other fronts besides the Christian Wood signing.
So let's dive in.
So we're diving into small forwards.
Small forwards. I forgot how to make this full screen. Oh, like this. Okay, I figured it out. Um,
You did it.
cool. So we are going to dive in a quick, because we don't want to take we don't want this to take forever. Re-explanation of how this is going to work. Dom and I are going to go through the presumably 30 starting small forwards in the NBA. We're going to place them in either S, A, B, C, D, or F tier. We are projecting how they will finish this upcoming season, not how we currently think of them. So some people we may expect to jump, some people we may expect a little bit of regression, but we are trying to project how they'll finish the season with, given their roles and stuff with their teams. We can't predict health, of course. We can't predict trades, anything like that. So just kind of as things are right now. Um, for point guards, we had 5 a tier, and then for shooting guards, we were like, it's impossible because so many of these shooting guards are not on the level of these other ones.
Yeah.
So it didn't end up happening like that, but we'll kind of see as we go along. We'll take turns kind of saying, who or why we think this person is in this tier. We already talked about this a little bit before the pod. We think some of the players' images here are wrong, so we'll probably just say we're going to put their picture there and say, but actually it's this guy, in case you are watching it, just so you're not like, what? Why is this person here? This person's not great. And it's like, oh, actually, it's this person, but
Right.
we didn't, we just picked the thing. We didn't make our own, so sorry.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
we'll also do our best to recap throughout. So maybe like every 5, we'll just kind of review what we've done so far.
that
So
that's what we said the last 2 episodes, and then we do like the first 5, and then it's like
yeah, then we wait.
17
I
in.
know.
It's like, oh, let's do a recap real quick.
Look, hey, I don't know if you guys know this, we're human.
We're
So
human.
get used to it.
I wonder if it's better to just kind of power through the whole thing.
What do you mean? Oh, just power through it and then at the end review it. I think if it feels natural, we could do a little pause and a recap. But I'm not gonna lie. So I'm looking at this. I don't know some of these guys.
I can help you. I can help you. Don't worry.
Yeah, no. I know you will, and I feel like we'll feed off each other and help out. But I know this first guy. So if you want me to start, I can start.
Take them, please.
Okay, so we got first is Asar Thompson, who just signed, who just got drafted, not signed. He just got drafted by the Detroit Pistons.
Rookie.
Rookie. We watched him at Summer League.
Mhm.
The game we were at, he did really well defensively, not a lot offensively.
Yep.
But then later in other games, he kind of picked up on that, and I know that's kind of his thing. He's wing defending, and he had some great steals. He really wants to lead a fast break, which I think will be really good with Cade and Jaden Ivey, who really want to push the tempo. I like Asar Thompson a lot. And he's the first one on here. So projecting where he's going to end up, I'll probably just say C tier. I think
Okay.
he's going to be really good defensively. Saying he's a rookie, he's going to get better as the years go on. I could maybe see him getting lower if some of these other guys have more experience, but I think right now I don't think it hurts to put him in C tier. What do you think?
Yeah. I was thinking. I agree with all the things you said. I think the defense will be there right away. The offense may need some work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, coming from overtime elite, I think, and Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey are going to be very on the ball, so he's going to have to develop his kind of off-ball game. Offensively, we'll see how that goes. I was thinking D tier. I'm okay, like you said, for C tier for now, and then he can maybe fall it again. It's not because we think he's a bad player. He's just a rookie, first year in the league, and some of these guys on here are, veteran players, so they'll probably finish a little bit higher just because of their experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So C was just I didn't want. Yeah, we'll definitely evaluate moving people around later too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we got Harrison Barnes, re-signed to the Sacramento Kings. Didn't love that signing because I had a lot of playoff struggles, a lot of missed shots, missed like a buzzer beater that would have won the series. Like it was a lot of stuff that I was like, oh, it hurts. But I think he is a good player. I think he's probably good for that team in terms of veteran presence, and he can probably help people with defense and stuff like that because he's always been pretty good on that, even back to his days with the Warriors. He is kind of old now. I think he's 30, 31 or so. So
Mhm.
he probably will start regressing soon. I would say he, like, when I think starting small forward in the NBA, I'm like, this guy is average. So I would say C tier for now as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like his fit a lot on the Kings. They really just needed 3-and-D guys, and I didn't love the contract they signed him with. We talked about. but definitely he is not, he doesn't make the Kings like a contender. He doesn't make them like bad. He is just like, he makes his shots when he needs to. He's a little bit older, so he's probably a little bit slower, but he has the experience. Like, he's been in the league a bit, so he knows what's going on.
Mhm.
This next guy is actually someone I like a lot, and I think you talked about him in your 30 for 30 team, RJ Barrett for
Mhm.
the New York Knicks. I like him a lot. It's unfortunate that Julius Randle and like Jalen Brunson now are on the team, so they are kind of given the ball when it's kind of crunch time. Even like Emmanuel quickly has had that. RJ Barrett has had moments like that as well. I like his game a lot. I just think um it's not great for him that when the playoffs came around, he wasn't as good as he could have been. Right? That's who I'm thinking of. Am I that he was like he was really good in the regular season and then just like in the playoffs fell off.
I, I was thinking
Or
the
was it
opposite. I thought he was good in the playoffs, but not great in the regular season.
either way, there's an inconsistency. So either
There's
way, I knew there was some inconsistency in his game, and I really wanted to be more consistent. And I think, the Knicks are buying into this. They have their pieces. They want to kind of use what they have and kind of make it past the first, second round of the playoffs. When I'm looking at who we have already, I like RJ Barrett quite a bit. I would probably put him in the B tier right now, but I could see him going up to A. Like, compared to some other people, I think he has a lot to prove, and I I kind of want him to to play with purpose a bit more and just get that consistency up.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a make it or break it season for RJ Barrett. Like, I feel like he's been up or down throughout his career. I feel like this is the season where it's like, okay, you got to show it. Otherwise, like, people are gonna be out on you. I'm
Mhm.
in. I'm also in. That's why I wanted to talk about him in the episode, like you mentioned, the 30 for 30 that we did last week. A B tier is exactly what I was thinking. I think he can make a little bit of a jump. I think he can be the third best player on a team that, maybe their ceiling is the Eastern Conference Finals or something like
Right.
that. Next we have Brandon Ingram, someone who, uh, in FIBA, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of upset with the amount of playing time he's been getting. He's like upset with his role. He's upset he's like not the guy, I guess.
I
Which,
didn't I didn't even see that. That's so
yeah,
interesting. But I
I
mean, on a loaded FIBA team, I mean, that's a little ridiculous, I think, to be so.
yeah, I mean, I can kind of get where he's coming from. 'Cause you got guys like Mikal Bridges who are like haven't been like proven players, but they are growing. Whereas Brandon Ingram, like 2 years ago, was an all-star,
Mhm.
but has kind of been like dealing with injuries and stuff since then. Um,
Yeah,
I think he's a really, really good player. I remember when he was coming out of college, he was one of those guys that was compared to Kevin Durant, because he was like, he's skinny, he's tall, he could shoot. Classic like Kevin Durant mold that everyone gets compared to now if they can do those things.
yeah,
Um, but with him, I could definitely see it, a little bit in his game. He likes to get to the mid range. He's I think a really good offensive like shot creator. Defense has been hit or miss. His health has been hit or miss. I would say, looking at the guys we have on the board, he's probably better than all of them. Um,
yeah.
so it's tough. It's tough, and I'm thinking, projecting it to the end of this season, do I think he's going to have a really good season? Um,
It's tough
maybe.
because we're also assuming that everyone's healthy, right? So I'm going to assume that Zion's on the team. I'm going to
Right,
assume
and that's
Brandon
another
Ingram.
thing I talked about yesterday was
Yeah,
the Pelicans. Like, when can we just see their team? Um, and is this going to be the year? I don't know.
yeah.
So right now I'm thinking, ahead of RJ at the B tier or the A tier, maybe if he gets moved up eventually. Wait,
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking A tier, but I'm definitely higher than RJ Barrett. He's, a bit more proven, a bit more consistent. I've seen him play. His teams have trouble when he's hot, like it's tough to stop him. He really does have that kind of Kevin Durant like length and gets that mid range. Once he gets to his shot and he starts making them, it's kind of he doesn't miss. I've seen the Pelicans play quite a bit, and he's definitely always the leading scorer for them when I watch them, and I like his game a lot. And I didn't know about the FIBA stuff. It kind of disappoints me. It's team basketball. It's not about the
Right.
individual. They just want to win, And but regardless, to me he's an A tier, maybe high B tier, but we can put him in A for now. I think
Okay.
is good.
Yeah.
So next guy is Brandon Miller, right? I'm just making sure I
Is
know
Brandon
what he
Miller?
looks like.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
He's wearing his Alabama jersey, right?
Yes.
Alabama. Okay, cool. Hey, I know more than I think. So Brandon Miller, interesting. So we watched him play in summer league,
Yeah.
and he was a little disappointing, which I think we
Yeah.
talked about. But you also talked about in your 30 for 30 how you could see him possibly being the number two, like for the Hornets behind LaMelo. And I could too. I think I hope he plays with a sense of purpose. He was drafted number two over Scoot, and I hope he wants to play like like he should have been the number two pick or number one even. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
play like the how when you
Show
were
them they made the
drafted.
right choice.
Exactly. And the Hornets are going to be probably a fun team to watch, and I think he will have a chance to shine, kind of. At least he's going to be playing over Gordon Hayward for sure.
Hmm.
So he will have like ample opportunity to to play. He is going to be a rookie though. I think he might, for his role like on the Hornets. Like I want to put him in D tier, but I'm saying that he is going to be D tier and he fits with the Hornets. Like Asar
Hmm.
Thompson and him, to me, like Asar Thompson's going to fit really well with what the Pistons want to do. So that's why
Right.
he's C tier. Like it's kind of for next year. So that's why I'm saying D tier. And also I saw, more flashes from Asar of what I think he could be as an NBA player. But what do you think?
So I think if I'm hearing you right, you're saying Brandon Miller in the D tier, Asar currently in the C tier, not because you think Asar will be a better player, but you think Asar is going to fit the role on the Pistons in a way that is probably better than what Brandon Miller will do on the Hornets because he'll probably have more expected of him being the number two pick. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is why you and me have a podcast together, brother, because you know what I say.
Yeah, no, I'm totally good with that. Yeah, looking at it is weird, looking at Asar above Brandon Miller because,
Yeah.
obviously Miller was just drafted above him.
Hmm.
But I see what you're saying. I think we kind of did this with some of our other ones too. Like, I think, I guess it was point guards. We had Derek White, like, kind of high up on C tier, but it was like he's so good at like what he does specifically. Uh,
Exactly.
so I get what you're saying. Next, one of my, you know, one of my guys, kind of, except for the foul drawing. I really hate foul drawing. I hate when anyone does that though. But probably, I think this one's easy. We're talking about Jimmy Butler, Miami Heat, brought them to the finals as the eight seed. Second time he's brought that team to the finals. Um, he's old. He's like 34, 35. He's getting up there, but I think he's one of those guys that his age, he's not like super physical. Like he gets to the rim and draws contact. But he's shooting free throws. He's not like Giannis where he's like trying to get to the rim and dunk over everybody. So I don't think like
Right.
the athleticism part will like really matter. And I think he still will be, relatively athletic. Uh, um, and his defense, I think, like, okay, let me back up. I think the way Jimmy Butler plays basketball is with like a lot of basketball IQ, like a lot of knowledge and a lot of like, I know what to do and when to do it rather than like, I'm gonna bulldoze my way through everything. So I think even if athletically he, takes half a step back, I still think his basketball IQ is going to keep him as an elite player. So I would definitely put Jimmy Butler with his shot creating ability, foul drawing, his defense, his leadership. I would definitely put him in the S tier. He's definitely the best player we talked about so far.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. Also, his clutch play is incredible. Like you can't talk about Jimmy Butler without saying, one of the clutch players in basketball.
Hmm.
And I thought going off of what you said, about him having physical play, like he has physical play, but he knows when to use it.
Right.
Like I don't really see him bullying his way in or muscling until like the fourth quarter when it's crunch time.
Right.
Like he's like, here we go. Like earlier in the game, he's using his IQ. Like people probably defenders think he's going to do more, but he lets other people do the work. And then fourth quarter, he just like puts in the second gear, third gear. I don't drive a manual car, but he puts it in another gear. You know what I'm saying? And he and I agree with you. He is really seeing his his leadership and the way he plays for the team, and I think he's the of what you would want in a small forward, hands down. And yeah, he's getting older, but with age comes wisdom, and I think he oh yeah, I know, okay, yeah, I'm full of those little cheesy quotes, but I do sincerely believe that, and I think he's an S tier player for sure. And this next guy is also someone I'm very excited about. The Brooklyn Nets are really fun to watch. We're talking about Cam Johnson. He's going to be their small forward, right? Did we decide that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think their starting lineup is probably Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith,
Yeah.
Nick Claxton, I would say.
Yeah. Cam Johnson is awesome. He's a great player. I've liked him ever since he was on Phoenix. Wasn't a fan of the Phoenix Suns per se because um, that's different thing. But I do like Cam Johnson a lot. I love his game. 3-and-D guy. Once he got to the Nets, he was still very good. Just got an extension, right? Signed an extension with the Nets.
Yes.
I'm glad they're keeping him around. He's what you want in a player and more. He puts it all out on the floor. I like him a lot. To me, I don't know if he's like maybe he's above RJ Barrett on the B tier. I'm kind of seeing him taking a step more because he's going to have a bigger role than he did with the Suns. Maybe behind RJ Barrett because he's not going to be one of the main guy. It's putting him in here is a little hard for me because I think he's a great role player. He's going to make his threes. He's going to play defense, and he's going to let Mikal Spencer do what they need to do. He's going to do his off-ball movements. But when you're comparing him with like other people we already have, like he's definitely better than Harrison Barnes and Asar Thompson. To me, I don't know if you think differently.
No, I see what you're saying. I do think he's better than Harrison Barnes and Asar Thompson. I don't like he's old, which is weird. Like he's like 28 already. He was drafted like 4 years
Mm.
ago. He's 28 somehow. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, like you're saying, he's really good at threes, really good at defense, which are the two best things. Never really been an on-ball creator or anything like that, which is where I struggle for the putting above RJ because I do think RJ
Okay.
can have that step where he's like a guy that handles the ball and is like a shot creator, whereas I don't know if Cam Johnson really has that in his game.
Okay.
So I do think he fits somewhere in between them, but there's not a tier in between those them. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, so either the like top of C tier or back of B tier for him,
Yeah.
I guess is fine.
Yeah, and then we'll float him
And
around.
we got
I'll
no
do.
F tier players yet, so everybody could drop eventually.
You never know. I'll do a little recap just real quick, just to make sure
Okay.
if people aren't following along. So we got one player in S tier right now, Jimmy Butler. A tier we got Brandon Ingram. B tier RJ Barrett, Cam Johnson. C tier Harrison Barnes, Asar Thompson, and D tier Brandon Miller. And Damon, who do we have? Who do we have next? Who are we going to talk about next?
Next we have FIBA Canada ejection legend Dylan Brooks, member of the Houston Rockets, number 9. Absolutely disgusting.
Oh, I
Dylan,
forgot he was number 9. Oh, jeez.
Dylan Brooks is, he's similar in a way to Cam Johnson, where we look at him for defense mostly. The threes have kind of regressed over the last couple of years. He used to be a couple of years ago, like when the Grizzlies were first making their come up there, like the 8 seed in the playoffs, playing the Jazz. He was a good shooter, but he's kind of fallen off since then. The antics have been, the narrative around Dylan Brooks for a while now. The media days and the doing like when he injured like Gary Payton a couple of years ago in the playoffs,
Yeah.
just doing stupid stuff. Stuff I don't like to see. Stuff like I kind of talked about with Grayson Allen before. We didn't talk about because he's not a starter, but like Patrick Beverly is known for stuff like that too. Um, so just things I don't like. Now, in terms of the Rockets, I think, his defensive kind of know-how will help a lot because the Rockets have been awful defensively. I'm hoping, he can contribute more on court rather than off court, hopefully. So I would say plugging him in here. I feel like I don't know. It feels like he kind of belongs on the C tier, like Harrison Barnes and Nassar Thompson, guys that'll play defense, guys that'll probably help your team win. Um, just with the stuff they do on the court. I don't know. What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna say that, or like top of D tier, so that's perfect. Just because of I just don't want that off court stuff to get in the way of the on court. So if we're just looking at this next year on the court, what he's going to be able to do, the defensive tenacity is great, but I hate the price it comes at sometimes. Like you're saying, injuring other
Yeah,
players, and um, so I don't know if players can change. Now I would like to see him dial that back a bit. Like it seems sometimes like it's intentional hurting people, which we never want to see
no,
ever.
never.
Um, but he does play defense very well. His 3-point shot has regressed, but he will be starting and he will be, defending really well. And he's been in the league a bit, so he knows kind of what's going on. And I will say he's not afraid of a challenge either, which I do
Yeah,
respect. Like he doesn't back down. So for better or worse, it's not a bad. It could be a bad thing, but in this case, it makes him a great defender. So I'll put him in. I like where you put him. I and I do want to also mention. I think it's interesting how much we're talking about defense so far with small forwards. Like I don't think it's come up
yeah,
as much with the guards.
yeah. A lot of the
Um,
guys we like pretty much everybody except like RJ, Ingram, and Miller, I think, are plus defenders.
yeah. Well, next guy's going to be a minus defender. That's for sure. But I still like him a lot. It's DeMar DeRozan of the Chicago Bulls. Um, so he's still in the Bulls. So
That's the
um,
first problem.
that's the first problem. But I like his playing a lot. I like his playing a lot. His mid range is there. He's clutch when he needs to be. And I wish he would improve on defense. But at this point in his career, I don't think he's going to get much better than what he is. Him and Zach LaVine are the only. I see the only Bulls really keeping the Bulls in talks of like even play in like playoffs. I don't even kind of see them as right now. But DeMar DeRozan's a great ball handler, great mid range shot. I would want to put him like bottom of if I'm projecting for next year. He's still gonna be like probably the number one, number two option on the Bulls. It's not gonna be Javon Carter. So I'd probably put him at the bottom of B tier because he can handle the ball. Whereas Harrison Barnes, Asar, Dillon are just defenders, three and D guys. But DeMar at least is a big part of the Bulls, and without him, they suffer greatly. So I feel like he has to be good. But I would love to hear what you think. I think this is one of the more kind of harder to gauge.
This is interesting. Yeah, I like DeMar's game a lot. I like his he like I feel like he's one of those guys that if you took basketball, you made it into a one-on-one game, he would be terrifying to play against because
Mhm.
his just like get to his spot, make his shot is like, okay, that's what he does. You mentioned the clutch, he had a couple years ago, had the back-to-back nights buzzer beaters, which were insane.
He
Uh,
delivers.
DeMar DeRozan delivers. Great casting on that, by the way. Great
Yeah.
call by that commentator. Um, yeah, I think he's probably the best player on the Bulls. Zach LaVine is a little younger, and might I feel like they both, kind of capped though at who they are as players.
Yeah.
DeMar is old. He's like 33, 34. He might have a little bit of regression. Um, that being said, I do think he's has a ton of impact on that team. I think without him, like you just take their exact team and take DeMar out, I think they're like a 12 seed, a 13 seed, like they're
Yeah.
really bad. Um, I actually think you have him too low. I'd put him in the A tier. I think he could be better than Brandon Ingram. Like that's
Yeah. I think to me it was only his age is why like when I was looking at the other guys, why I was thinking him and B. But I mean I like him. I like him in enough in A or B tier. Like I do see him that high. I just his age is what worries me a bit, and like injuries.
I'll put
But
him on the back for now.
sounds good. Yeah, but if I'm projecting, totally healthy season, I see him as an A tier player, of
Yeah, and
course.
he's never really had like big time missed for injuries or
Yeah.
things like that. And again, he's not, in his younger days when he was in Toronto, he was more of a slasher. Now he's kind of a pick your spot up shooter, a couple dribble crossover guy. So I don't think, the any physical wear down is going to affect him too much.
Yeah, definitely not like a physical player where he's putting his body on the line too much.
Right.
Where at least you would hope that he wouldn't be doing that because it's not really in his game. So
Cool. Um,
yeah.
Next, one of the more overpaid players over the last 4 or 5 years of NBA. But I do like him, Tobias Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think like, if you took Tobias Harris and he makes like $35 million or something like that, if he made $15 million, it's like, this is a great player to have on my team. I think the only reason that he has a negative connotation is because of the large contract he got, because he had a really, really good year. I think it was with the Clippers after he got traded from the Pistons. Um, and then he just got that giant contract and it was way too long. And it's finally about to be over. But that's why people, I feel like, have not, you know, with the 76ers having so much attention on them with the Simmons thing and now the Harden thing. It's like, oh man, if only we had money to spend, but we don't because this guy has a ton of money.
Yeah.
But I do like him. I think he fills a role. I think he's fine. I think he's like I think starting small forward, um, similar to Harrison Barnes, I feel like Tobias Harris is relatively average. Like he's not terrible at anything, but he's not great at anything.
Hmm.
I do think he's probably worse defensively than Harrison Barnes. Offensively, he probably has a little bit more.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
yeah, like ability to create and
right.
stuff like that. Um, so it's tough. Like I'm looking at the C tier and I kind of want to just plug them in there. Then it's like already four guys in the C tier. Um, it, it makes me kind of want to move Asar down, but I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with you. A lot of it the next year also depends. Like if James Harden isn't there, then
Right.
Harris might handle the ball more, might have more opportunity.
A lot of
Because
question marks.
yeah, because right now he really plays sometimes like he's the fourth or fifth option
Right. It's
behind
Embiid,
Embiid,
Harden,
Maxi.
Maxi, and
Yeah,
then Tobias Harris, the guy that has $35 million.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's a little bizarre when you look at the money. But I do like the fact that he can create for himself compared to other guys in the C tier. But I do think he does suffer defensively, so I wouldn't mind plugging him
Were
in
you
there.
thinking higher?
Originally, I was
Interesting.
because I've watched the Sixers a bit, and he
I'm okay with that.
he can do more than you think. But the one thing that does annoy me about him though is that he has some stinker games. Like
Yeah.
he really like
Games
he
where he
has
just
some
doesn't
games
show up.
where he's like 1 for 12, and
Yeah.
he is just like, and that's what like kind of holds me back against wanting to put him higher. Is
Or
like,
there's
is that
also
going to
games
be
where he's like 1 for 3. Like he just doesn't participate.
right?
Like,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah.
he just gets rebounds and tries assists, and he'll end up like with like a 6, 4, and 3 stat line, and he plays like 35 minutes, and it's just
Right.
like, what was he
It's like, how
doing?
did that even happen?
So it's a little confusing, but I would like to think that he would try to stay away from that. So that's why I'm like a little torn. I don't mind just plugging him in the C tier in that regard.
Okay,
But
we can put him at the top of the C tier for now.
yeah, just really because he can create. That's
Yeah.
what I'll say. And then we'll evaluate um when we get more guys. I will say, starting from DeAndre Hunter, I don't know the three after. So
Okay.
I don't know if you wanna I can talk about the teams they're on a little bit, but I don't know, you might know the players a bit more.
This is Kelton Johnson,
Okay.
first guy. This is Corey Kispert, Wizards.
Okay. And that's
Uh,
Conchar.
and this is Conchar, yeah.
Okay, so like, okay, I thought so, but the thing is I don't know much about them.
Right.
So but I do know DeAndre Hunter, and I've watched
Okay.
the Hawks a bit.
Yeah,
That's who's next. We're gonna talk DeAndre Hunter, Atlanta Hawks, 3-and-D guy. Think people are down on him. I like him. I
I like him
think
too.
I like him quite a bit, and he's still young. He kind of fits the timeline a bit more. He fight with Trey,
I
and DeJounte.
I sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think
No, just cut me off. You're good.
I think the issue he has is that he was drafted to a team with a really high pick, the number 4 pick, and they immediately were like in the conference finals like a year later.
Yeah,
So it's like he kind of had to be thrust into the spotlight before he could develop as a player. Like you think about, we have a Star Thompson on here. I mean, that
yeah,
guy, like the Pistons aren't going to be in the playoffs for like 3 more years. So like
yeah,
he has time to kind of figure out who he is as a player in the NBA and stuff. And then by the time he gets to the playoffs, it's like, all right, I'm here. Whereas the Hawks are kind of in this weird position that they had some young guys that, but then they started making the playoffs really early and they made that Eastern Conference Finals push. And I feel
hmm
like the expectations were just really high. So now like all the young guys are like, oh, you need to be like who you are as a player now, even though he's like, I don't know, 24, 25 years old, still kind of coming into his own.
yeah,
So I feel like that contributes to the negative connotation you're talking about.
yeah. And but I like him quite a bit. He does his job, plays defense very well, can make threes. Um, it's hard to fit him in this tier because you know I I don't know if it's just that what the people are talking about negatively about him that's affecting what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
But to me, but it also is a crime to put him under a Star Thompson. So, um, uh, so yeah, and then behind Dylan Brooks, I don't know, but no, maybe above Dylan Brooks because I would say behind Harrison Barnes, above Dylan Brooks. That's what I would. That's my thinking, but I want to hear more like ranking wise what you think. Okay, you're switching some. If you should say what you're doing.
For people not watching while Dom was talking, I moved Asar to the D tier because it feels like we're projecting a lot for him right
Yeah,
now, and
right.
some of the guys we're talking about is like, okay, these guys actually are like proven good NBA players. So we moved him down with Miller in the D tier, and then I moved Tobias to the back of the B tier just for now, just because we were kind of talking about it a second ago with that uh creator ability. So now we have DeAndre Hunter in between Dylan Brooks and Harrison Barnes. I think it's a fine ranking. I think it it sucks because you talk about the negative opinion. I also think like again, like we talked about Tobias Harris, DeAndre Hunter's in a position where he's definitely behind Trae Young. He's definitely behind DeJounte Murray.
Yeah,
And then after that, he was behind John Collins. He just got traded. So now maybe he has a little bit more of a role. They have Sadiq Bey, who they traded for because they like. They have Clint Capella. They have Okongwu. Like they just have a lot of guys, and how much
Bogdanovich too. Yeah,
Bogdanovich, yeah. How much opportunity will he get? I don't know.
right. That's why I was a little worried about putting him too high because he is on a team that is Harrison Barnes is starting, Dylan Brooks is starting, DeAndre Hunter probably should start,
Well,
but
we're
how
ranking
much?
the starters, so
Right. Oh, well, yeah.
theoretically,
Well, you got me there. But how much time is he gonna be? But this is something like the Hawks have this rotation where I could see him being phased out if Bogdanovich is doing really well. Like they could throw him in a
right.
small forward or Sadiq Bey even, or
I feel like
um
they'll start Hunter and Bay at the 3 and 4, probably.
is Sadiq Bey taller than DeAndre Hunter
He's like 6'7", 6'8".
as a power forward?
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, that's fine. I have my own ideas of what a power forward should be,
that's the
but
modern NBA, baby.
modern NBA is crazy, man. But you know what else is crazy? These next three guys I don't know much about.
The next 3 guys. Do you? I'll just rattle off all 3 of them, and then you can do the 3 after that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So first we got Keldon Johnson of the Spurs. I like Keldon Johnson. I think it was on the USA Olympic team like a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever the Olympics were.
2 years
Um,
ago.
2 years ago, he was on
Hmm.
that team, which I thought was kind of crazy. Like he was on the actual Olympic team as like the last guy on the bench,
Yeah.
um, which is weird because he's young. I mean, he's still young. He's probably like 26 now. Like he's not old. Um, I think he's good. I think he doesn't get a lot of attention paid to him because he's been on the Spurs, who've basically been rebuilding for most of his time there. Um, And now they have Wimby, so he'll have a lot of attention on him. But I think Keldon Johnson is a fine player. I think he is a okay shooter. I think he's a pretty okay defender. Um, I could see him growing with Wimby there now, like we talked about with Vassell a little bit. Kind of playing off of somebody, figuring out what their roles are, rather than just like, oh, we got some young guys and we have no idea what's going on. So I would say for Keldon, I could see him in like the DeAndre Hunter, range. The Harrison Barnes-esque
Mhm.
range, probably here in like C tier for now. Maybe can I would say maybe could even go higher. But I don't know. What do you think?
From what I know of Keldon Johnson, I've heard his name quite a bit. I've seen some Spurs games. He never really popped out to me. So what that says to me is that he's doing his job, you know. Which I mean, putting the C tier is the middle of the tier. So I trust your opinion where what you think. I know Harrison Barnes, and DeAndre Hunter a lot more than I do Devin. I forgot his last name. I just said it.
Devin is a is the shooting guard, Devin Vassell. This is Keldon Johnson.
That's what I said, Keldon Johnson.
Okay, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. So I'm fine with that. I like that he is like, on the younger side, and I see what you're saying about like developing with Wimby, and I mean Sochan's on there too, and
Nope, that's not how you say that.
Sochan.
The C is silent. It's Sohan.
No way.
Yeah, yeah.
You're lying to
Jeremy
me.
Sohan.
That's what I said, Jeremy Sohan.
Ah,
Damon is mishearing a lot of what I'm saying right
sorry,
now.
my bad. That's on me.
But I'm cool with that. He was on the Olympic team. I remember seeing him on the bench. Like, I think that guy's on the Spurs. But yeah, that's yeah, I'm cool with your opinion of that. But what I really want to know about is Corey Kispert.
Yeah, Corey Kispert, Washington Wizards legend. He got drafted, I want to say at like 13, 14, a couple years ago. All he can do is shoot the ball. He is like no like super great defensive game, no super great creator game. He's
Hmm.
just kind of a shooter. He's like, I don't know, a worse version of Cam Johnson basically. Um, but like from what I know, which is also not a ton because no one's watching Washington Wizards basketball that much. I mean, I would just put him in like the D tier. He's like okay at his job, which is shooting, but that's kind of all he does. There's not I feel like he doesn't have the ceiling that some of these other guys have.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've definitely heard his name too, and unfortunately, like the Wizards are not a team a lot of people are watching. I will probably try to catch some games, just because they intrigue me. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's good or bad, but they are intriguing. And yeah, I'm fine, with putting it on the end of the D tier. But I appreciate you going over Corey Kispert, but who I really want to know about is this dude named Conchar.
Yeah, John Conchar is from Chicago. I know that. Why I'm not sure, but he's fine. He's like pretty okay at things, I guess. He's played rotational minutes for the Grizzlies in playoff games. They've been in the playoffs the last couple of years. He hasn't started for them. I think the only reason he's on here as the starting small forward is, of course, because Ja is going to miss those 25 games. So once Ja comes back, I think their lineup becomes Ja, Bane, Smart, some combination of those three, and then Jackson and Steven Adams. So this will be a temporary thing, but we can't, for the start of the season, we have to go with him because we talked about Desmond Bane last time. He'll probably,
Mhm.
I guess, be the small forward because it's basically be three guards.
Right.
Um, or they'll start like Luke Kennard or something, but that would be weird because then they'll have really bad defense on a kind of
Exactly.
important position. But yeah, compared to everybody else on this list, I could safely put John Conchar in the F tier, our first F tier.
You know what's
Player.
crazy? You know what's crazy? I
What's that?
agree with you.
Okay,
But you know
don't
what's
need to
even
spend any more
crazier?
time on that.
You know what's even crazier?
How
Laurie
tall our next guy
Markkinen.
is.
Laurie Markkinen. All right, so Laurie Markkinen is the next guy on this list. Utah Jazz legend, Chicago Bulls legend,
Cleveland Cavalier legend.
Cleveland Cavalier legend, the
Finnish
Triple
Army naked
Towers,
legend.
Finnish Army Nate. Yeah. So I like Larry Markkanen's game a lot. I think him going to the Utah Jazz, becoming the number one option, was very huge for him, and he needed that for his career, revitalize his career. Hard to stop. He gets to the rim. He can make his shots. He's tall. Um, he played great basketball for Finland this year, although he was the only player doing anything on that team. So,
Oh, he played in FIBA.
oh, he did play on FIBA. Yeah, he got out of the army for a bit to play in FIBA. But he will be there for the beginning of the season, is what I understand. I like him a lot. I like his game quite a bit. I want to put him in the A tier.
Okay.
The question I have is, I just don't know if he's gonna be better than, like, I'm not. Last year was definitely not a fluke, but is he gonna be averaging as much as he did last year? Probably not. The Jazz are, I think they're a bit more solidified in who they have. Like, they have a lot other great players
Yeah.
now, like you talked about in the last episode,
Hmm.
that they're probably going to want to utilize. But he is a bright spot on the Jazz, and he's really fun to watch. And if they're listening, just wear the purple jerseys with the mountains. Just do
Bring the
that,
mountain jerseys back,
and then wear
please.
white with the purple mountains, and
Get
then
rid of
stop.
these G League jerseys.
No
What
more
are we
G League
doing?
jerseys.
They're terrible. They're the worst jerseys in the NBA by far. It's not
I
even
know you're.
close.
I know you're listening to me,
I
Laurie, and
I
just
know
tell
Dan.
them,
I'm like, who's? Oh, I Dwayne
Danny.
Wade. Dwayne Wade is a part owner of the Jazz. Dwayne Wade. Listen here, bub. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I like him a lot. I want to put him in the A tier. Brandon Ingram has definitely, I just don't know. Okay, I'll defer to you. What do you think?
Yeah. It's we're going at this assuming health. I think assuming health, Laurie Markkinen probably has a bigger role than Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
Even though the Jazz have more young talent, I still think he's like their number one option. Whereas if the Pelicans have Zion, he's definitely the number one option, and Ingram
right.
kind of falls to the two. Um, it is like when I think about them as players, though, I'm like, do I think Brandon Ingram is a better player than Laurie Markkinen? Um, Maybe. Do I think Laurie Markkinen's All-Star year was kind of a fluke? I don't know. I don't think it was a fluke, but like you said, I don't know if like I think it's fair to expect some amount of regression.
Yeah, and
Um,
just natural. I mean, like, yeah.
so
Sorry, keep going.
yeah, no, he's good. It's interesting that like he's better than DeMar DeRozan. That sounds crazy to me. Um,
Right? Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe he's on the end of the A tier, but then it's like, both, if they are both not on their teams, both the teams suffer greatly. So
yeah,
it's like, we're projecting how good they're going to be. Is Larry Marketing going to be better than DeMar DeRozan next year? Is basically what we're thinking. And
right.
like, I see a universe where that is totally possible.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting. I was wondering, I was like, is he really the small forward again? Is he like, because he was a power forward last year, but I was like, no, I forgot they traded for John Collins. So I guess it's Laurie Marketing, John Collins, Walker Kessler. So I was like, I guess he is a small forward.
wow, I didn't even think of that. Is crazy.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Oh, it's tough because I'm just it's really hard to think about what kind of season Laurie Marketing's gonna have. Because I feel like Brandon Ingram and DeMar DeRozan, I'm like, yeah, I can feel what kind of season they're gonna have. But Laurie Marketing is like, he's just had an All-Star year, a career year. Is that gonna happen again? And if it does, to what extent? I think I can safely say he's above all the B tier guys, but then after that, it's a question mark for me.
for sure. Yeah. But I'm fine with it, leaving it on the end of A, and then we can revisit it and we'll see like how we feel a little bit later.
And next
Um,
next we're getting our second F tier player, right?
it's funny about that. You're wrong. So it's LeBron James. So S tier. Just throw him up there real quick. Above Jimmy Butler, real quick. Yeah, do that. Do that for me, real quick. Just goat. There we go. LeBron James. So Damon just created another tier as a joke, I guess.
Yes, it was a
For
joke. It
LeBron
was all a
James.
joke.
But LeBron James, I mean, going into his, this his 20th year finally? I think it's his 20th
I think it's
year.
21. I think last year was
21.
20.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
He got drafted in 2003.
No, Lord have mercy. That's 20. Oh no, going into 2024. That
Yeah.
makes sense. LeBron James, he continues to be a huge part of the Lakers offense and their success. Without him, they would not have made it to the Western Conference Finals. They wouldn't have been afloat throughout the year. His health issues are, or his health is an issue, and his age.
Because he's old.
Um,
He's
he's
old.
old. Dude's old.
He's about to be
But
40.
God, it is insane to me how he's still playing at this level. And
Played basketball since I was in the NBA since I was 7.
I'm insane. Insane. But he is still a huge part of the game. Still the number one option on the Lakers. Anthony Davis still I don't think has really made that jump yet. There was a month last year when it was Anthony Davis was the number one option.
Oh
But then
yeah.
when you look at the whole season as a total, like as a whole, definitely LeBron James is still at that level. He's not as good as he once was, obviously not as fast, not as good defensively, but he has the IQ that is almost unmatched. He knows when to take it slow, when to go faster. His composure is through the roof. He's been through so many finals runs. He has championships. Is this the year when the Lakers get number 18? Who knows? All I know is LeBron James is going to be very good again this year, health willing, and yeah, S tier for sure.
Definitely S tier.
Um,
Definitely S. Sorry,
yeah.
you gonna say
No,
something?
that was it. I was just gonna say, yeah.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah, so Dom was alluding. I was adding a tier to the tier maker above S tier that just said LeBron. But I deleted it, and LeBron just at the top of S tier. Even with some regression, all the players we've talked about thus far, I think he's the best. I do think I'm gonna put someone above him. And I'll let you know who that is when we get there.
I
But
can guess. I can guess.
But LeBron's awesome, even with some regression expected with his age and stuff. The basketball IQ is off the charts. The playmaking ability is amazing. The ability to just score points basically whenever he wants, whether it's he's and not in the traditional way, but he is like a three-level scorer. He can get to the paint and lay it up or draw a foul. He can also shoot a mid-range jumper, and he can also shoot a three. Not as consistent as you might like, but good enough to where it is a threat.
Yeah.
Um, and then the only my only complaints about LeBron have been the same complaints that they've always been in his old age, which is the lack of defense, the lack of trying on defense. What it seems like he just stands there, and then the flopping slash complaining to the refs when he doesn't get a call or something drives me insane. Um,
Yeah.
but as
On
a
the
player, you gotta appreciate it.
absolutely. And on the note about defense, you definitely see that. I do see that, and it does upset me as a Lakers fan. Just kind of looks like he's in the middle facilitating, telling people what to do, and then that's when the guy goes right past him, or like
Right.
he passes it.
He's just like,
Um,
better
yeah, but
start walking back the other way.
but I will say, like, kind of like Jimmy Butler, he knows when to turn it on. Like, if it's
Yeah.
a close game, like in that fourth quarter or anything, just to get the lead, he will just run down the court. And he had some chase down blocks last year, and yeah, he still can do it, just not at the volume that he did when he was younger. But I agree with everything you said.
I'm
You
looking at
know,
the rest of our list, and I think for now I'm gonna plop Corey Kispert down to the F tier. So I'm
I yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna say it because I
like,
haven't seen him a lot, but I was like, the way you described him, I was like, I feel like Asar Thompson and Brandon Miller at least have a bit of a higher ceiling than
higher
him.
ceiling for sure.
But so
You
the
got
next
you got one
guy,
more, yeah.
I got one more. Yeah, we got Lou Dort for the OKC Thunder.
You do it.
What one of my, I don't know, I like him a lot. I like
I
him a
feel like
lot.
I've heard you say that 100 times.
If you can't see my face is not amused. Um, but I do like Lou Dort a lot, and I'm gonna keep saying it, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
Do you like
Uh,
Lou Dort?
yeah, I like him a lot.
Oh, okay.
His defense is great. He fits into the Thunder, like their timeline. I think they're better with him on the court. He does not give up on defense. He has great off the ball. He cuts to the rim. Um, looking where I think he belongs. I don't know Keldon Johnson that well. I kind of want to put him back of B tier, which might be a little high, but I just think how he fits in, and he's just been consistent compared to some of the other players. Maybe top of C tier, but it was getting a little loaded. So that's why I was going to say back of B. But what do you think, Damon?
Here's my negotiation. Moving Keldon Johnson to the back of B tier, then putting Lou Dort at the head of C tier.
Sounds
I
good to me, brother.
I think Keldon Johnson has a higher ceiling, and I think I can project him to have a better season, especially when I think about Lou Dort and I think about the fact that he has Shea, who's gonna have the ball a lot. Josh Giddey, Chet is coming in this year. They got just a lot of guys there. I think similarly to a Dylan Brooks or Harrison Barnes or DeAndre Hunter's on this tier too. He's going to have a role to play. It's going to be a specific role, and I think he'll do it well.
Yeah,
Which is kind of like what everyone on this tier seems to be. Um, and I would say out of all four of these guys, I would probably prefer Lou Dort. He is a little small for a small forward. He's like 6'4",
yeah,
6'5". But he's bulky, kind of like when we talked about Drew Holiday. He's big,
yeah.
stout, I guess is a word I can use.
He's husky. He's quick too.
Yeah.
So like he definitely is a bit undersized compared to some of the other guys on that tier and people he guards, but he I think makes up for it with
Yeah.
his speed. And I agree with what you assessed.
Next, according to this picture, is Doncic, who we talked about for the point guard video. So it's not going to be Luka. Instead, I think their starting small forward is probably going to be Tim Hardaway Jr.
Oh, I didn't or I was seeing him or Josh Green, but probably
Yeah.
Tim Hardaway.
I feel like Josh Green is young,
Right.
and I feel like they bring him off
Yeah.
the bench, and maybe they'll swap at some point. I know Tim Hardaway started a lot last year, so I assume he would be the starter at the beginning of the season. Um,
I
so
see that.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
use Luca's picture for Tim Hardaway just in case you're watching the tier list and you're like, why is Luka Doncic not in S tier? It's because it's Tim Hardaway. It's not Luka Doncic because we already
Yeah.
did that in the point guard video. No, I think Tim Hardaway is a good role player. He got overpaid by the Knicks and then he got traded to Dallas. Now he's on a more reasonable contract, I believe. And he's kind of been fine. I think he's had his moments. He had some moments when they were in the playoffs, um, kind of helping them in those series with his shooting. Uh, his defense is okay. He got injured a lot, or he got injured not a lot, but for a long time. I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. He was injured for like 8 weeks or something ridiculous with like a broken foot or something like that.
I think it was last year because I don't remember. I watched quite a bit of Mavericks. I don't remember seeing him a lot of playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's okay. I think he's good. I trying to like he's getting up there now. He's getting towards 30, I think. I this is tough. I don't think he's as good as the people on C tier.
Right. But then you're like
But the
lumping him with
people on D tier
rookies,
are like
right?
pure projection. So I'm like, oh, it's tough. I would say he's better though than Corey Kispert, John Conchar. So I feel like maybe the back of D tier.
You think back a D tier?
Yeah, I feel like I
That's
really like Brandon Miller and Asar Thompson. I feel like
okay.
their rookie years will be I feel like their rookie years will be better than whatever year Tim Hardaway is about to have.
I I agree with you. I remember when I started watching basketball again and I watched the Mavericks, I liked Tim Hardaway Jr. quite a bit. He was very good offensively. Oh my God, I said it again, didn't I? I liked him quite a bit. Oh, geez.
I like him a lot.
Um, uh, okay. Tim Hardaway Jr. was fun to watch. That's what I'm going to say
Okay.
because he was quick and he made shots and remember him being a little bit clutch when I first started watching. This is like 2019, 2020.
Hmm.
But he definitely has regressed since then, and he is just getting, up there in age and not getting better. Like his seat, like he is at where he's going to be. Whereas why I see your argument for Sar, Brandon Miller above him is, um, their ceiling is higher than his right now for sure. And I know he was always in trade talks as well. I guess the Nets didn't want him. I'm sure the Mavericks tried to get him, try to put him in the package instead of Dorian Finney-Smith, but it is what it is, and they have to deal with that. But I agree that he's going to be probably a little bit worse than he was last year, and um, and that's all I can say about him. you
I
know.
also should mention Tim Hardaway is on the other side of a couple episodes ago. I wore my Waiters Island shirt that he got me. The I think it was the rookie sophomore game where like him and Dion Waiters just went back and forth like going at each other and both scored like a ton of points. That's a great memory for me.
Such a fun clip too, if you haven't watched it. Um so next we have Indiana Pacers legend Benedict Mathurin, am I correct?
Yes.
Oh, thank
A
God.
player you
Okay,
like,
well,
I think. So
I do like him quite a bit. No. We're supposed to meet him at
yes.
Summer League. I was a little
Yes.
bummed that we couldn't meet him, but we did meet Jaren Jackson Jr. and Reggie Jackson, who are arguably goats compared to Benedict Mathurin.
I
So
almost wore that hat instead of this hat, but I was like,
yeah,
it's signed. I don't want to wear it.
yeah, mine's just chilling right here. I'll show it again. Why not?
The Jackson
Um,
hat.
Good, the Jackson hat. But okay, so Benedict Mathurin had a great rookie year. I remember last year fell off a little bit, regressed just a tad, but I really like him on the Pacers. I think he is a lot of fun with Tyrese Halliburton and um just all the guys on there, Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. He's still young. I know when he came into the league, he talked a big game. He was like, I want to go against LeBron. I want to like
Yeah.
show like him what I can do. And I like that attitude a lot. I don't think it went to his head. I think he was using it as fuel. And
Yeah.
what is his year gonna look like, you know, compared to some of these other guys? I would probably project him at the top of D tier just
Okay.
because I don't see him going to be as big a part of like the team's success as like a Harrison Barnes or a Lou Dort or a DeAndre Hunter, but I do see that he will grow more, and that's just how I feel. I like his game is nice. He is physical. He gets to the rim when he needs to, and he runs the floor. But what do you think?
Yeah, originally I was looking at C tier and I thought maybe he can be plugged in somewhere in there. Um, I even thought like I even thought about B tier for a second, but I do think C tier was kind of where my brain spent most of the time.
Mhm.
Very good offensive player, came off the bench his rookie year, scored a lot of points. Defensively, I think has been okay. I am excited to see kind of how the Pacers look this year. I know I talked about that in my last episode. I think my question was just like, is this the most fun team?
Yeah,
Because it was like they have a lot of players like this that I think will be really enjoyable. Um, yeah, this one's tough. This one's tough because this tier is two guys that are projected rookies and then a role player that's kind of um on the latter half of his career. And I think that the difference between him and C tier is I know the guys in C tier, three of them are really good at defense, and then Harrison Barnes is like okay at defense, but like kind of like just a veteran leader for his team. He kind of
right.
has that aspect to it. So I can definitely I'd be fine with this back of D tier for now, I think, or top of D tier for now, I think.
Yeah, and we're getting to crunch time. I mean, we might have to move some guys around, and I'll do a little recap,
Okay,
just real quick.
sure.
So in the S tier, we have LeBron James and Jimmy Butler. A tier, we have Brandon Ingram, DeMar DeRozan, and Laurie Markkinen. B tier, we have R.J. Barrett, Cam Johnson, Tobias Harris, and Keldon Johnson. C tier, Lou Dort, DeAndre Hunter, Harrison Barnes, Dylan Brooks. D tier, Benedict Mathurin, Asar Thompson, Brendan Miller, and the face of Luka Doncic, but it's Tim Hardaway Jr. And then F tier, we have Corey Kisper and John Conchar.
Right.
And so who are we going to talk about next,
Who are we
Damon?
gonna talk about next? Next is Max Strus, new small forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Um, this one's weird because I thought about it and I was like, will they start him? Will they start Isaac Okoro? Will they start Karis LeVert? That small forward spot is kind of the only spot in their lineup that's a question mark. But as I was thinking about it, I thought, well, this guy was just like the second, third. No, definitely not second because Jimmy Butler, bam. And then it's like Caleb Martin and him. So third or fourth, probably best player on a team that just went to the finals. So yeah, it probably will be him that starts.
Yeah,
And that comes into my argument. I feel like I've said this a lot today. It's a guy that shoots the three well and a guy that plays defense. I feel like I've said that so many times, 3 and D.
It's such a
But
small forward
the
thing,
yeah,
you
I
know?
was the small forward. That's like what you want. You want a
Yeah.
guy that can shoot three, um, and a guy that can defend. And I think, you know, I kind of want to plug him into the C tier just because I feel like that's what a lot of those guys do. And I think like when I think about Max Strus as a player, I don't know if he's better than these guys, but then I think about the fact that he was a starting player on a team that just went to the finals. And I'm like,
Yeah.
none of these guys did that. So it's
Nope.
it's tough for me. So I don't know. What do you I need some help from
I
you.
I agree with your assessment. I haven't heard of or seen a lot of Max Strus till last year. Um, I'm sure he won't be as good as he was last year, but he is going to be doing the same things as he was doing last year, like you said, making the threes, playing defense. Uh, in that respect, I did want to plug him in because he has proven like at the top of C tier. Um, but I could also see him being behind Lou Dort, but the size thing gets to me
Mhm.
about Lou Dort, and I think the Cavs have a better chance of making it further in the playoffs than the Thunder next year. So I think Max Strus will be a part of that. But that's what I was thinking. But I had the same thought, like he belongs in that like that kind of group in C tier. But I also will say he can create for himself. He had to because like Gabe Vincent was injured for a game or two, and Max Strus kind of came in. So I will say he could do that better than the others. So that's the reason why I put him atop of C tier.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, I think I know this next guy,
Okay.
and I think it's Jaden
It
McDaniels.
I'll give you a hint. He broke his hand punching a wall.
Yeah, but isn't it his? They're twins, right?
Uh, I have no idea. I the Jaden and Jade Lynn. I don't know. I don't know if they're
So this
twins, but
is
it is Jaden.
Jaden.
It is Jaden. Yeah,
It's
you're right.
Jaden McDaniels. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, that's who I thought, and I thought they were twins. I don't know, exactly, but I know his game, and
Tell me about his game.
his game is defense. Who would have thought? His game is punching walls when he's frustrated. Um, so it's so funny because we are loading up in the C tier, but the thing is that everything that we talked about with these guys in C tier is Jaden McDaniels. He plays defense. He's going to be if the Timberwolves had him last year in the playoffs, it would have been a better series than it was against the Nuggets.
And the Nuggets
I
said that they were
even
their hardest opponent.
Well, even before that, I mean, they would have had to play the Lakers,
Mhm.
and that would have been tough for the Lakers too. They barely won that game for the play-in. So he is a phenomenal defender. Will be important to the success for the Timberwolves as long as he doesn't punch any more walls. You hear that? Just Jaden, just talk to somebody. It's okay, man. And I do want to plug him into the C tier. I am not. I do. So I don't know if that means we want to just make 6 people there and then move people around, or if we want to move someone down or up.
Here's my
But
counter.
okay, counter me.
My counter is that Jaden McDaniels is the best defender that we've talked about so far. I think he's better than everyone on this board at defense. I think he's like first team all defense, like top tier player. So I would say he's maybe the back of the B tier rather than the C tier.
Cool. I'm okay with that. I know
He's
his
actually he's probably better than Keldon Johnson, honestly.
that's your call. But yeah, I do I'm excited to see him, be a part of this Timberwolves team. And I think him and Gobert playing defense, uh um like they could be if they all buy into this, this team, it could be really efficient. So do you want to explain the moves you just made, by the way?
Yeah, I put Jaden McDaniels in the B tier, and then I looked at Cam Johnson and I thought I think Jaden McDaniels is better than him. So then I moved Cam Johnson back a couple spots. So he's still in the B tier, but just a little lower on the B tier.
Gotcha. Who are we gonna talk about next though?
Next, we're going to talk about Cash Money Chris Middleton.
Cash,
Uh,
baby, cash.
one of the weirdest heads I've ever seen. I
Never thought
don't.
about it till now.
It's like in this picture, it looks fine, but like on court, sometimes when I'm watching, I'm like, man, how do you look like that? But I love Chris Middleton. Sorry, Chris, fan of the show, Chris Middleton.
Yeah, by
Shout out
being the
Chris
number
Middleton.
two option on the Bucks, that's how
Um,
your head gets like that. That's
yeah, I think Chris Middleton's a great. He's struggled, the last couple of years with injuries, unfortunately. Um, and I hope this year he can get back on track. Of course, we're assuming health. He's a little older. I want to say 32-ish, 33 maybe.
yeah.
But again, one of those games where his mid-range is his jam, threes are his jam. He does, a lot of pick and roll, a lot of ball handling when Giannis doesn't have the ball. I think he's really good kind of release valve for Giannis, so he doesn't like get exhausted over the course of a game. It's like, okay, I'm getting kind of tired because I'm running the whole court and I'm playing awesome defense, and I'm also like the offensive guy everyone has to worry about. So this possession, here you go, Chris. Can you like do something so I can breathe for a second? Um,
Also that finals run, like he really was like
so good.
very important for
So
that,
clutch too. Like,
especially. Yeah.
I think the Bucks' biggest struggles in their playoff runs have been their half court offense because Giannis is such a scary transition player. But coming down the stretch, I think Chris Middleton has done a really good job of kind of providing fourth quarter offense. When the game slows down, it kind of gets into those last kind of clutch moments. He's kind of been their de facto guy rather than Giannis. Um, so that being said, looking at everything we have here, I would slot Chris Middleton, assuming health and a good year for everyone. I put him in the A tier. I think he's better than everybody in the B tier. I think he's probably better than Laurie Markkinen too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I know when I started watching the Bucks and everything on just during the finals or playoffs run and everything, that he was an important part, and they struggle when he's injured, and their depth isn't like probably all that you would want it to be, so he needs to be good, and the thing is he is good. And it is weird how the league sleeps on him. Like he isn't talked about a lot compared to some of these other guys, but he does his job so well. He fits into the Bucks offense so well with Giannis and with Drew. So I am totally fine with where you put him. I agree with you. I think he health willing is an important part of the Bucks. Is better than Laurie Markkinen, just a bit more clutch, I'd probably say. Um, and even compared to DeMar DeRozan, like they are pretty similar in that game, although Chris Middleton has a bit more range, which I like about his game. Um, so yeah, I'm cool with your assessment.
Tell us who we're going to assess next.
It's funny you should ask that. We're talking Michael Porter Jr.
MPJ. Yep, that's him.
He's not their starting power forward.
Nope, that's Aaron Gordon.
To me, Aaron Gordon is like so short, but I know he's not. Like when
He
I think of him,
Aaron Gordon is shorter than Michael Porter Jr., but like he kind of like Aaron Gordon guards their centers sometimes just because he's like kind of bigger and better at defense, I guess.
yeah, it's just like I get it. It's just in my head, just some of these
Yeah,
guys are not as like tall to me.
right.
So Michael Porter Jr. is a player who, to me, is almost the definition of when he's hot, he is so hot, like he's on,
He's a microwave.
and then when he is off, he is fucking off.
He's terrible.
Like I've seen him. Oh my god, this might be the first time I cussed on the pod. Because like I've watched
Not made
games
for
where he's
kids.
like 1 for 8 from the 3-point line, but his ceiling is so it can still get higher, and he's on a team where it does enable him. He's with Jokic, and he's with players that just make him better. I just wish he was a bit more consistent. Like he really can be the best player on a court, you know, especially with his size too. So where he fits in here is tough for me. But I probably want to put him in the B tier because I think he does more for the Nuggets than everyone in their respective C tier does, but also doesn't really handle the ball as much as some of the guys in B tier. Isn't as defensively elite as some of the guys. Um, but that's my gut reaction.
Yeah.
I wish I could put him in A tier, but I just don't know if he's going to be better than he was last year. You
Hmm.
know, and he also isn't a huge like creator, and I feel like that's a big thing for A tier that we're looking at is like someone that can create their own shots.
Yeah, and I think some of that too is like he's not really allowed to because they have Jokic. It's like, yeah, that
Exactly.
guy has the ball, and if he doesn't,
Yeah.
Jamal
Or
Murray has the
Jamal
ball.
Murray.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it's like you don't get the ball. Sorry. But I hear what you're saying. I do think he's better than everyone in the C tier. Definitely. I kind of looking at this. I kind of want to move again. I kind of want to move Tim Hardaway to the F tier, which makes me
I
feel bad. Um,
I'm fine with that just because like it seems like D tier is like these younger guys and
yeah.
their ceiling like they could be really well. Whereas like Tim Hardaway Jr. is gonna be what he has been, if not a little worse.
You're right.
So
And I think, like, I definitely think I look at the B tier. It's like Michael Porter Jr. better than Keldon Johnson. I think it's better than Cam Johnson. Even though Cam has defense, I think Michael Porter Jr. is just like how good he can be on offense.
yeah,
Maybe makes up
for
for that.
sure.
Um, and then after that, this area is where it kind of becomes a question. I am wondering if we have RJ a little high looking at this list. Like maybe he should like. 'Cause I'm like Michael Porter Jr. better than these two guys? I don't know. Is he better than RJ? Probably. So it's like
Yeah.
it's I'm like, should RJ kind of slide back here on the B tier a little bit? I
I'll
don't know.
leave that up to you, but I will say that like RJ Barrett is has like the benefit of being like the third option, whereas Michael Porter Jr. is behind like four guys, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why to me they are like in a similar kind of place. I also feel like not that Michael Porter Jr. has anything to prove because he just won a championship, but I feel like similar to RJ Barrett, um, he wasn't like a big difference maker for the finals run. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He was there, he did his job, but it wasn't because of him that they won that final last year. So I would hope he wants to prove something to himself, you know, that he deserves it and just a bit more consistent offensively, maybe improves his defense too. I would like to see that. But I'm fine with putting him like probably right where he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um yeah, so next
Next
is yours.
is mine. Yeah, we got 7 guys here left. It's a picture of OG Anunoby, who we talked about last time because he kind of fills in the shooting guard for them. Instead, we're gonna talk about Scotty Barnes, because he is definitely gonna be their starting small forward. Had a really good rookie year, one rookie of the year at the fourth pick. Some people thought they should have taken Suggs. That was kind of the expected fourth pick. They took Scotty Barnes. He's had a much better career so far. Um, and then he kind of had a sophomore slump last year. I feel like the Raptors just had a slump last year in general,
Yeah.
but I'm expecting a bounce back. I think he can be pretty good. I know I talked a little bit in my little 30 for 30 last time about like what is this team gonna do? Because they're kind of like the Bulls for me, and like I don't think they're nearly good enough to be a contender. And they only have really Scotty Barnes, like the only young guy that they can develop. So, what is the rest of the roster gonna look like? I don't know. But I think Scotty Barnes could be good. I think he's probably, this season probably projects better for me than anyone on the D tier. The C tier we get a little murky, because these
Yeah.
guys are kind of like certified role players. I definitely think though, like I feel like he's gonna be better than all these guys. So I kind of want to like put him on the back of the B tier, and then that's 7 guys in the B tier. I don't know how that happened. Um, I don't know. What do you
The
think?
thing is, I'm fine with not sticking to this 5-5-5 format just because I don't think it is. It's just not human. You know,
Right. It's not
we're
perfect like
it's
that.
just yeah, it's just not perfect, and that's okay. I have my worries about him, like you said, just because of the sophomore slump. But we were talking projections. I would maybe put him at top of C, but you want to put him back a B, same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm okay with that. I haven't watched him a ton, so that's that's another thing. I don't have too much more to contribute to that. I know he won Rookie of the Year, and I know I wanted someone else to win. I can't remember who else was a rookie that year that he came in. But I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for the organization to have him. But yeah, back a B tier is fine with me. I understand that projection.
Mhm.
Um, Next we have Josh Okogie. So a player that plays defense and does
That's about
plays defense.
it.
Um, and then when I'm looking at this tier list, like, does he play defense better than Dylan Brooks or DeAndre Hunter or Lou Dort or Max Strus? Harrison Barnes, is a better Okogie's a better shooter than him. Um, does Okogie ceiling higher than anyone in the D tier? Probably not. I hate like putting him like at the top of the F tier, but like I don't know. He's surrounded by four number one options. You know what I mean?
I
So
mean,
it's like, how can you not look like an F tier player around that? But he is good. He's solid, plays defense. He doesn't need to play offense. He has three people that could do it, on automatic.
right.
Um, so I would probably just say top of F tier because he doesn't really fit in with the D. Like his ceiling, he's not going to be, and he's not going to become this different player overnight. But I do see him probably being more, contributing than maybe anyone in the F tier, just because he'll probably be one of the defensive anchors for this team. You know what I mean? So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. When I was thinking top ranking top of F tier is what came to my mind. And it was exactly for what you said. I think all the guys in C tier do a little bit of both offense and defense. The guys in D tier have the high ceiling, whereas Okogie, I mean, he's like a zero on offense. It's kind of crazy. And I know you said, he's on the Suns with Durant, Beal, Booker, Ayton, guys that can all play offense, so they don't really need that. But even when he was on the Timberwolves, it was kind of like his offensive game was just so undeveloped.
Yeah,
Kind of like a Matisse Thybulle, in that way. Um,
yeah,
but very good at defense. Good rebounder for his size. He's a little small. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's really like a shooting guard, but he plays like a power forward.
right.
Um, so that's how he slots here at the small forward, I guess. But yeah, I think he definitely will contribute to winning with his defense and his rebounding. But in terms of starting small forwards, a lot of guys that can do stuff on both sides of the court, fine with the top of F tier.
Cool. Now we're going to talk about one of your favorite players that you like watching.
Is it? Um,
I'm kidding.
it's a picture of Paul George, but we talked about Paul George for shooting guards, so this is actually going to be Kawhi Leonard. That would be their starting small forward. So hard to talk about Kawhi Leonard and talk about basketball because such bad injury luck over this latter half of his career. It all started when Zaza Pachulia stepped on his ankle when he was shooting a three in the playoffs, and the Spurs were like about to beat the Warriors, and then he like intentionally injured him. I really hate that. I hate Zaza Pachulia. He did that a lot. Terrible. Go watch the clip. He did it on purpose. Um, and then he had some bad luck after that, tore his ACL. Um, and he had like another long-term injury. He's been on load management. But all that being said, when Kawhi Leonard is on the court, he's the guy. We can, go back to the playoff series he's had against Luca. I mean, there was that one where it looked like for sure they were about to blow a lead to Luca, the Mavs, like a 3-1 lead in the first round. And then Kawhi Leonard had like an insane game where he had like 30 points in a half. He played great defense. Um, Kind of like you said with Jimmy and LeBron, like when he needs to show up, he will, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he hasn't had the chance to do that a lot. But when he's on the court, he is awesome. He is easily for me in the S tier. As a player, it's hard to rank with again the injuries and stuff. But when he is playing, he's definitely like an elite defender, like top three defender on here easily, and um, great offensive creator. Kind of developed as a playmaker with the Clippers. Uh, is he better? Like it's hard to put him like where in the S tier because like these guys play, he doesn't play. So
Yeah. So I sing on the back is fine for that
Yeah.
reason. Like, I go to more Clippers games and Lakers games because they are cheaper,
How many
and
times have you seen Kawhi?
I've seen him once, I think, and I've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
And it is such a shame because he is like my favorite part of the Clippers for sure. He's a just a good basketball player, and I love watching good basketball. Right? Sucks to see him injured. Um, it's just better when he's playing when he's on the court. Has some of the most memorable moments in basketball. So I hope he is fully healthy soon, and we see a fully healthy Clippers team, just because it makes everything more interesting and more fun for the fans and everything. But I agree with you, is S tier player, hands down. Um, just does what he needs to do, and plays defense like a monster, while showing no emotion. uh, can make his mid-range shots, makes his threes randomly, gets to the bucket, gets to the foul line. It's
Except
everything you want in a player.
when he made that shot on the Raptors, the like bounced around buzzer
Yeah,
beater, that was some emotion.
that is the only time I've ever seen emotion, and that was so cool.
I'm a
Like
fun
that was
guy.
one of the like that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
that's that moment, like that's
Yeah.
something fans won't forget. And yeah, I think S tier for sure. Hope he's healthy.
Mhm.
Um, next is the Trailblazers. It's not Shane Sharp though,
It
right?
is Shaden Sharp.
He's a small forward.
Not
He's like
really,
six
but
one. I
no,
think.
he's like 6'6". He's tall.
No
Um,
way. Okay.
but I think the reason he's on here for their small forward is just because their team is so small in general. Like,
Yeah,
Dame or Scoot at the point guard, Anthony at the two, and then it's like, oh yeah, Shaden Sharp, I guess, has to start at three. He is
I
6'5".
guess.
6'5".
God, to me, I thought he was like 6 foot. I don't know why I thought he was so short. Shane Sharp, we saw him in summer league. Such a fun player to watch. His ceiling is high. He's only going into his second year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was a rookie last year.
Yes, because he
Especially
wouldn't have been
if
at summer league otherwise.
right, if the Trailblazers buy into this rebuild, trade Damian Lillard, trade Jeremy Grant, you'll hear me, trade him.
I
Anyways,
mean,
we're not going to talk
5
about
years,
contracts.
$200 million, Jeremy Grant, that guy.
Yeah, but anyways, like if the Blazers really buy into this like
We'll talk about
rebuild
him next episode.
next episode, um, like he is such a fun player to watch, and he is so physical. Well, not physical. He just has such
He's
hop.
he's super
Like
athletic.
he's
Yeah.
just super athletic. That's the word I'm looking for. And you
Future
know,
dunk contest winner.
yes, absolutely. And for me, he kind of doesn't fit into any of these tiers when I'm looking at like where he could possibly fit, because I think his ceiling is, I guess I'm projecting for next year. So I guess he does kind of fit in D tier, but I'm like, can Shane Sharp be better than some of the guys in C tier? Sure. But he's not there yet. He's still very young. So if we're just looking at next year, I'd say D tier. But
Yeah.
you know, maybe Benedict Mathurin has a bit more like, I don't know, has a bit more depth to his game than Shane Sharp, but I think Shane Sharp will add things to his game. Um, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, the D tier has kind of become the projection tier, is what it seems. That like these are, first, second, Matherin's his third year, but guys that we're kind of have seen a little bit of, and we are excited about their game, but we're not quite sure. I think he does fit into that category. Like you said, he's really athletic. Assuming that the Blazers can manage to get into like full rebuild mode by trading Dame and Grant, he'll have a lot more opportunity to showcase that. And maybe this is a low projection then, but I think this is fine for now.
Yeah.
He is really young. He was like barely 19 when he was drafted, I think. So
Yeah.
he's pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next, this is the player I hinted at earlier. Did you know that?
I knew it. I knew it.
Um,
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it as soon as you said it.
all NBA first team. I think I don't know if it was one of the recent years he finished like top 5 in MVP voting, leading a team far, Eastern Conference finals a couple years ago, talking about Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics. Um, there's not a ton to say. He's awesome. He's a great scorer at all three levels, a great shooter. It's like, okay, Jason Tatum's one of the guys that when I'm watching the Celtics play basketball, like especially in the playoffs, he gets a ball and is like kind of open for a three, and as soon as he shoots it, I'm like, that's going in. Because like he's just the guy. He is the guy for me. Probably a top, I don't know, 7 player, 8 player, maybe in the NBA at the very least. Um, I would say the only like hole in his game and something the Celtics struggle with a lot is playmaking. I think they can work on getting each other involved a little bit, but his offense is super elite. Aside from that, his scoring is great. His shot creation for himself is great. His defense, I think, is also pretty good. Um, good size, good kind of like physicality, wingspan and stuff like that. So I would say he's probably going to finish as the best small forward in the NBA.
Um, so I don't like the Celtics, but I love Jason Tatum.
He's so good.
So good.
So good.
It's you cannot deny it, and I do enjoy watching him. Don't love the colors he wears, but he is so good at the game of basketball, and that's what I care about. And his play is so pure, and his negatives are he doesn't show up in the playoffs sometimes. He has to rely on other people, and has some stinker games, like some other players we talked about. But when you're looking at the Celtics as a whole and what they want to do, they obviously are buying into Jason Tatum as their number one, that he is the guy. And it's hard for me to put him above LeBron James, but I will allow it because he's just literally like half his age. So I understand it, and we're projecting what he will do next year for the team. And Jason Tatum will probably have to be really good along with everyone else in the Celtics. And it's just hard to compare who's at the top, but
What?
I'll give it
I,
what?
I was just gonna say, I think Tatum has been like all NBA first team like the last 3 years or something like that.
Yeah. Well, no, and he's great. I'm not. He belongs. I know he's above Kawhi and he's above Jimmy Butler. It is just a little hard for me to see LeBron James that way. But here's the thing: LeBron James is turning 73 this year, so I get it.
Guys, Austin Reeves, S tier player. Come on now.
Well, that we know that we already talked about.
I can't wait to talk
So,
about Rui Hachimura as an A tier power forward.
dude,
It's
you
gonna
have
be
no
great.
idea. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. But no, Jason Tatum at the top is fine. I like Jason Tatum a lot, and he is an important piece of the Celtics. And um, he respects the game, he respects the players, and yeah, no, I'm cool with that. Next we are talking about Franz Wagner. I know you've seen him a bit more than I have. He is on the German FIBA team, and he's doing quite well for them. I mean, they're about to play USA
They've,
for
they've kind of been like steamrolling, right? Like they've been kind of
yeah, they've been very good.
smashing.
Yeah, there've been a lot of the only team I know it was an exhibition USA beat them. But it was still a very good game, and it will be a good game for this quarterfinals. But Franz Wagner is a very good player. He's part of the Magic's future. Um, but I want you to talk a bit more about him because you've seen him play more, and I can talk about the last guy because I've seen him play more than I've seen Franz Wagner.
Yeah, Franz Wagner's cool, man. He's good. He's like
He's cool, man. Just
he's,
like put him in. I don't know, man. Better than LeBron, probably. I don't know, man. Just put him in, dude.
I think so. If I want to compare Franz Wagner to someone in a way, here's what I'll say. I'm going to compare him to Michael Porter, not because I think they're the same player, but they're like
Hmm.
both like 6'10" small forwards.
Hmm.
Um, I think Franz is not nearly as good of a shooter or a creator as Michael Porter. I think his offense is good. But it's like Michael Porter's like, I mean, when he's like we talked about, when he's on, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Franz Wagner, I think, is good. I think he's a fine shooter. I think what I do think Franz Wagner is really good at, what I think is really underrated, he's a really good cutter. He's a very good like off ball. He's on the three. His guy is kind of looking at the ball at the top of the key, and then he cuts the basket. It's easy layup. He's really good at stuff like that, which I think is impressive for his size because he's not running at the basket and getting the alley oop and dunking it. He's just kind of doing like a fundamental play, which happens a lot in European basketball.
Hmm.
Um, I do think he's a pretty okay defender too. Um, Especially with his size, it's a little easier for him to guard small forwards, even power forward, just because he is so tall. And I think he's better than Michael Porter Jr. on that regard. So that's kind of why I'm like, I know D tier has been our like these are players we're projecting, and I know Franz Wagner is also going into his third year like Benedict Mathurin, but I think he's more developed than Benedict Mathurin. I think he's probably better than Benedict Mathurin at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he's probably better than most, if not all, the C tier players at this point. So it's hard for me to place him on this tier. I don't know.
Yeah. Because he is so young too, and you don't know. I have a feeling he's just going to get better.
Yeah,
Are these
definitely.
guys in C tier going to be better than they have been? Like, I feel like they're pretty consistent in their roles. Um, so you're gonna add another tier. Um, I mean, throwing him on the back of B tier with Scotty Barnes, like I'm not. Yeah, there we go. It's perfect. Dylan Brooks gets his own tier because he actually gets his own tier for most technical fouls, uh, and most ejections in FIBA. Um, but yeah, we're just having fun. But yeah, if you want to put Franz Wagner on the back of the B tier, I'm not gonna, dispute that too much.
Yeah,
I think he is. I think he is
our eight
a.
player B tier.
That's okay. Yeah, again, like I'm okay with that.
It's
It
okay.
really,
It's
yeah,
okay. It's just weird because it's so much more than all the other tiers.
yeah. Well, we're about to see another tier grow a bit more with our last player, our last small forward we're going to talk about, and that is Andrew Wiggins of the Golden State Warriors. So I have watched him quite a bit because they play. I watched the Western Conference playoffs,
Right.
and the Warriors are always in it. They always do pretty well. Wiggins I think he was injured all last year and came back in the playoffs.
He was injured and then he had some personal like life stuff happening with his I think he had like a family member die or something like
Yeah,
so he was out for a while.
yeah, but he came back in the playoffs and he played very well. He was a little rusty, but you could tell he was playing better. He fits into this Warrior system very well. He's easily, um, you know, after behind Steph Curry and behind Klay Thompson, like he's their guy,
Hmm.
scorer. I think he's a bit more proven than most of the guys in the B tier. Um, so I kind of want to throw him on the back of A tier.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. Cool.
That's
Cool. Cool.
exactly what
Cool.
I was thinking. I was hoping you were gonna say that.
Okay.
I
Cool. Well, he plays with the Warriors, so he's F tier.
I also true. Like I know this was 2 years ago, but I think about Andrew Wiggins' contributions to the Warriors championship,
Yeah.
and he was so good. Like he had an argument for Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Because he was playing really good offense. Kind of like I talked about Chris Middleton, like getting a bucket when they needed it, when they're not running their system, like, hey, we're down two with like 2 minutes left, and we just need like something we can kind of trust, and he gives them, a post fade or something. He was really good at that, and his defense was elite. He was
That's
like
exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
it was so weird because in Minnesota he was not a good defender. He was not known as a good defender, but I think he really bought into the Warriors system. Probably had some mentorship from Draymond, and Draymond's kind of like their defensive captain, but like
Yeah.
Wiggins had like that's their best player. We need you to guard that guy. Uh,
That's exactly. I mean, without Wiggins, like the Warriors probably don't win that championship because he was guarding Jason Tatum, Jaylen
right.
Brown. He had that assignment and he did it very, very well. I mean, they won the championship, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I say back of A tier. Like are you cool with that?
Yeah. No, I like I was looking at B tier and I was like, yeah, I think he is probably better than all these guys.
Yeah.
So I think, I look at the people here and I look at his offensive game, I think is better than Jalen McDaniels, and his defensive game is probably better than everybody else. So it's like, oh, your timer.
We're doing
Wow.
pretty good, my brother.
Wow.
We're doing pretty good.
Dom had us at a 2 hours, right? Yeah,
Two hour
a
cap.
2 hour cap today. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really tired of podcasting with me, so he's trying to put a
I'm
time
trying
limit.
to get out of it as quickly as possible.
Even though I'm the one 2 hours ahead, I'm the one that
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. But yeah,
Um, anyway,
semantics.
yeah, semantics. But yeah, so I think Andrew Wiggins at the back of A tier is great.
I like it.
What do you think looking at our tiers? You wanted me to like kind of go through it and then you kind of assess
Well, okay. I
or go tier
guess
by tier and
if
just kind
we
of
if we recap and then we change, I don't want to recap again. I don't want to have a
yeah.
two recaps.
Okay, so let's look through it right now because like honestly looking at it, I don't see any changes. I was looking a little bit
Yeah.
when you're talking about Andrew Wiggins. I like it. I wouldn't. I maybe you want to pay Andrew Wiggins above Laurie Markkinen just because he has like shown more. Like
Yeah, I'm okay with that. This is an
yeah,
all-star starter, Andrew Wiggins, of course.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
And
that's
but
so
yeah, I
stupid.
mean, but that was pretty bad. But everything else I agree with.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, and I should say we didn't say this at the beginning. So we're trying to put the tiers in order. Like obviously we have the players tiered, but then in those tiers we're trying to put, best to worst in the tier, and there's probably an argument for most of them. Like if you think a guy should be 2 spots higher, 2 spots lower, it's probably okay. And I also wanted to say we're not big, we're not diving into each of these players' stats and their plus minus and their, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of, we watch a fair amount of basketball, what we see and what we think is going to happen. And it's really all very surface level. So please don't, dig into this too much. Like, how could they possibly think this player is a C tier player? They're clearly an A tier player. Yeah, we're just kind of uh talking about it and coming up with what we think.
yeah, it's all eye test. By no means do I think Josh Okogie, Tim Hardaway Jr. like do I think they're F tier players. I just think when you compare them with, they are starters on an NBA team, which is no small feat.
Right.
So obviously respect them very much, but we're just just comparing them with other players, and they're going to do fine on the teams they are. But this also a little disclaimer about that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at this. I mean, there's probably a couple of like minor things like players moving down like 1 or 2 spots, but I think the
Yeah,
tiers are good. And that's
I
the
agree.
more important thing.
Yeah. I agree with you totally.
So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna download it.
Boom.
It's on my computer now, so I have it for the end of season when we go back and see how wrong we were.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that. Okay. So let me stop sharing here. Okay, cool. We're back.
Cool.
We're back on the big
We're
screen.
back. We're here. Where'd I go? Where'd we
one
go?
one of the things about last episode was like if you watch on YouTube, it's just me. It's like a giant thing of
Huge.
me, and I was like,
I saw.
I hate this. I was looking at myself the whole time. I was like, this is awful. Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
it's a little bit easier sharing the screen and then sharing the screen with somebody because I definitely wouldn't want to have a whole screen to myself either talking. And I think this definitely works better when it's you and me.
That's why it's
I
D&D's
do.
two-man game.
Yeah, you can't. It's no such thing
There was
as
only
a
one man last time.
one man game. Yeah, what is it? One man ISO pod? No. It's 2-man game. DD's 2-man game.
That's a great. I should like if we ever have to do like a solo thing, like
Oh,
I can't do it,
ISO.
call it that. All right, it's an ISO episode. That's
That's
cool.
that's cool. Okay,
You heard it
so
here first.
you heard it here first. Last episode 7 was a ISO episode. Damon's ISO episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident. I like the small forward list that we did. I'm excited to dive into power forwards
Next time is Power Forwards, episode
next
9. We're
time.
almost to double digits. We're almost to double digits.
Yeah, we're there. And don't forget, we have tradition. We got one last thing to do.
I have my ball right here.
All right.
I don't know if you heard when you were listening. So I originally I did my shot
I
when my
heard it.
mic wasn't working. and I hit the backboard, and I was like, ah. And then I did like the retake, and I
Yeah.
missed everything. It was awful.
Airball.
It was terrible.
Frick.
It was terrible.
All
So
right. Here we
let's see
go.
here. Ugh.
Episode 8.
I was gonna yeah. Wait, is it?
Here's the
Yeah, it's
one.
episode 8. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When did I make episode 6? That's when I made it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't talk about that.
Can I make it again? That's the question. Okay, here we go.
No, before episode 25.
We need to get you
No.
a tradition.
It's a shirt reveal. That's my thing.
That was in. 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 Your face is always so disappointed. It's always so disappointed. You hate that I make it. That's twice now before episode 25, baby.
I'm just mad because I don't have my own basketball to throw behind me.
Twice in 8 episodes. I'm 25% from the field.
You know what's wild is that like it's like I'm happy for you, but I'm just disappointed that we can't like compete against each other. I'm just like, okay, what
Buy a mini
I
basketball goal. It's not that hard.
yeah, but then we can't we have to measure the same distance and everything. It's not the same. It's not the
It's
same.
just not the same.
We need a regulation mini basketball court. I got the reference by the way.
Okay. I was like, did you hear it? Did you get it?
No,
Shout out Ugly
but,
Side Up. Good band.
yeah, I've heard they're pretty good. Check them out. They're going to be on tour, I think, soon. So if they're in your town, check them out. That's what I
Wait,
say.
in-person podcast? You probably won't have time for that.
I probably won't have time, but that would be insane. I'll try to see if we can fit it in our busy tour schedule. But
Yeah.
anyways, I want to thank everyone for listening to this. And if you have any comments or requests or anything, please let us know.
Like, subscribe, 5-star comment, download. I don't know.
All the above. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for listening. And we'll catch y'all next week on D&D's two-man game.
Buckets.